Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome everybody. It is a beautiful Saturday morning in Kansas, and this is my weekly No Guts, No Story broadcast. I was searching for a topic this morning. Actually, my daughter was sending me all these ideas for topics, and then I thought to myself, it is Mother's Day. Really good idea to give a tribute to our moms. So what I wanted to do was just quickly go live on here and wish all of you a happy Mother's Day. Saturday mornings are getting so busy for me. I might have to schedule my No Guts, No Story call on a different day or go earlier. I don't know how many of you all are early morning people and who is a night owl. Tell me that. That would help me make my decision. It seems like opposites attract because I'm definitely a morning person and Dave definitely kicks into turbo at, evening time for sure. So anyway, I wanted to just give a shout out to our moms. I know that some of you know who our mothers are, some of you don't. Dave and I both have moms that were single moms raising kids. And so I think the one word that comes to mind just when I think about everything that I have done with a spouse to help me, wow, shout out to all the single moms out there because I have no idea how you do it. You are superheroes to say the least. And definitely that would be our moms. So the one word when I think of our moms and tribute to them, it's just strength. My goodness, they are the strongest two women that I've ever met in my life. And I can't imagine not having them in my life. So I was yesterday praying for a friend who lost her mom. And I was thinking about all of my friends. I was thinking about all of you. Susan, you came to mind right away. And, I see people posting about, this day, however many years ago, I lost my mom. And I think how important a mom is in a child's life growing up and even adult life. And then even when they're not there anymore, it's crazy the impact that your mother has on your life. And whether you live near your mom or far away from your mom, there's nothing like a conversation with your mom if, you're in a healthy relationship. And I pray that all of you are, because I also see people that are, I went in an Uber one night and this girl was giving me a ride and my mom called and I had just landed in Atlanta, Georgia. And my mom was so excited for me, encouraging me to have a great show in Atlanta. And I could tell that the girl was a little bit emotional. And she said her mother hadn't talked to her for 2 years. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And she's like, no, I was honest with my mom about my relationship status. And the girl was, attracted to women. And her mother just wrote her out of her life. Like that was it. And then the girl ended up on drugs and homeless and under a bridge and met a guy who she later started dating. And they went to rehab together. And her mom doesn't know any of this story. Can you imagine? 2 years. And that was last May when I met this girl in Atlanta, Georgia. And it's crazy because now we're friends on Facebook and she always follows my Facebook Live. And I always message her and say, make amends with your mom. There's nothing like a strong, healthy relationship with your mother. And I know that some people will say, you don't know my mother. So I can understand that too, because, one of the other things that I learned from our moms, other than just strength, and surviving so much is forgiveness. And so, sometimes people will tell me what a horrible person, or what it was like. And I will tell you, there was a time where I was really, really close to my mom. And there was a time as a teenager prior to being so close to my mom, like I am today, that I didn't get along with my mom. And, sometimes what children and even young adults don't realize is what that mom is going through when they're making the decisions or doing the things or in the relationships that they're in. I think ultimately as a mom, every single one of us wants to be a good mom. We want to do the best that we can for our kids. But let's face it, our kids are going to make mistakes. And that's another lesson that I've learned from my mom. That's how they learn. There's two kinds of learning. There's educational learning where you go, you learn, you take a test, you pass the test, you get the degree in that. And then there's transformational learning. And I really feel like Dave and I have had an amazing transformation in the last 26, 27 years of being together just because of our moms. And I'll tell you, it's because of every single adversity that we've all been through together. So, our moms when we first got married, were single moms with a little bit of nothing. Both of them had been through a repossession, foreclosure. Both of them were rebuilding, their homes, their lives, trying to work for minimum wages. And previous to that, when they were married to our dads, they all owned their own businesses. So there was a down in the economy, a lot like there is right now. And I know that that's hard on relationships. So once Dave and I, we're married and we're running our own businesses and we're going through everything we're going through, especially the years that we had our financial challenges, I think to myself, oh, this is what our moms were going through. And guess what, guys? They survived. They survived it. So you got to think to yourself, if you're a mom and you are beating yourself up because of things that you did or didn't do right, it's not like moms don't make mistakes, right? Moms make mistakes. Kids make mistakes, but there's this big word that I've learned from them, and it's just forgiveness and not judging. Because I look at our moms, and probably one of the hardest things as a mom that I've ever watched a child go through would be a broken heart. And so how do you fix a broken heart? Nothing hurts worse. Nothing is worse. Nothing is worse other than, I think of Dave's mom losing a child. Talk about a broken heart. I think of friends of mine that are near and dear to me, and I see them posting every day about their children and how long they've been gone and how much they miss them and what their life would be like today. How in the world would you ever fix that as a mom? And then you look at your situation, and if you've never been through that, your situation is nothing compared to what those people are going through. Now, some of you maybe say, yeah, right, you don't know what I'm going through with my kids right now. It's my belief, and this is just my belief, I definitely don't want to offend anyone, but I read this amazing book. It actually might be right here on my bookshelf if I didn't give it away. It's called The Soul Plan. And a friend of mine, where is it? It's a big book. You don't have to read it all at once. But I got a lot of books. I wouldn't even be able to find it in the middle of all these books. But I read it the last couple of years, and I read it a lot. And Maxandra Desrosiers, one of the closest friends to our family, actually recommended it when I had kids that were going through some really tough battles. And as a mom, you want to fix everything, right? You just wonder, why in the world can't this be different? Whether it's a breakup, whether it's are you going to stay in college or quit, whether it's their lifestyle that they're living, the person that they're dating, the town they want to move to, the poor decisions they're making, you think, with their finances, whatever it is, we always think we want to fix. And I can remember this one situation. Oh my gosh, I've never had that much anxiety in my life. And Maxandra said to me, you really need to read this book. And so I read it, and it made me think so much about our moms and their journey and their path and the difference that they've made in our life. And not just our life. Here's the big title. This is even bigger than you being the mom, the grandma. Because the grandma is not the mom, right? The grandma is that one that is the elder that the children are watching. They see this person that is much older than their mom, the lifestyle, the habits, the values, the love, maybe it's their spiritual strength. I honestly believe of everyone in my life ever. And it's funny because my dad and I aren't that close, but I do have a gift in my office that my dad gave to me, and it has to do with this, and it sits right on my bookshelf every day. And it's crazy because one day he just said, I saw this and I got it for you, and the glare's too big. You can't see it. Can you see it? Okay, there you can see it. And it's an angel that's a grandmother, and it's a little sculpture. And he said, I know you're probably going to think this is weird, but it was on the shelf. And he said, I couldn't stop looking at it. And I thought, I have to get that for Barb. Because probably the biggest mentor in my life, and the one that taught me the most, and definitely the most important lessons, which are the spiritual lessons that I've had in my life, was my Grandma Mills. Now, both of my grandmas were amazing. And as a grandma, I learned a lot from both of them. Take my dad's side of the family. My grandmother had 3 children. She had my dad, his only brother, and a sister. And there was just the 3 of them. And that was my grandma and grandpa Zorn, before she remarried. So my dad's brother went to Vietnam, and after Vietnam, he had a lot of struggle with addiction and alcohol, and he ended up taking his life. I'll never forget it. I was 5 years old. We were at Lake Wilson. I still remember the sirens, going to the house, my dad, everything. Pretty devastating time as a 5-year-old, and even more devastating to watch your parents struggle through, you know, a situation like that. And at the time, I'm like, how in the world could this happen? This is the worst thing in the world that could ever happen. Years later, you know, years later, 30 years later, actually, I'm married to Dave Pitcock. And there's a lot of the same, you know, situations. Our families have a lot of similar, you know, history, background, a lot of addiction, a lot of alcoholism, a lot of depression. And Dave loses his only brother. Now, when I was going through that as a mom, and I'm watching the dad go through this as a dad with his only brother, there was a lot of life lessons that were popping up in my head of maybe sometimes we have to play the understanding game of what another person is going through as a parent. The anger, the bitterness, the hurt, the guilt, the pain, you know, trying to sort this whole thing out. Well, imagine being the spouse. Imagine being the mother of that child. And when I read the book, The Soul Plan, I got so much peace of mind about so many things, because in that book, it talks about how maybe when we're born, there is a higher power that knows every single thing that's ever going to happen in our life. And then people say, well, why do bad things happen to really good people? Especially some of the moms that I know that have had so much pain in their life. And in the book, it's actually creating a spiritual guide of that person to help other people get through life. And it's talking about how God knows our lives before we're even born, and every minute and every hair and every purpose. And it really made me feel so much different about a situation that I was going through with one of my children. And it gave me peace, because for the first time in my life, I realized my dad's not a bad person because he left my mom. He made a choice. My mom is very strong. I learned a ton of lessons. There was this spiritual guide in my life that said, this is what's going to happen here to direct that, to direct this, and then here's your purpose in your life. And as moms, you know, I think sometimes we are way too hard on ourselves. I didn't raise you this way. Why in the world would you do that? You didn't learn this. You know, that's not what you should do. And really, you know, fast forward, I don't know if you all have kids in college or not, but if you think it's tough raising toddlers, I had 3 of them in 4 years. It was nothing like having 3 kids in college in 4 years. And when they left, I was devastated. I thought my life was ending. I remember I said to Dave, all I ever wanted to be was a mom. Now everybody's gone. I don't know what I want to do, but don't take me home. I said, when we drop the baby off at K-State, let's just drive somewhere far into the distance and never go back home for a long time. Because I couldn't imagine that empty house, that I had always been the one in control, the meals, the schedules, the vacations, the, you know, everything that you do as a mom. And it's a huge responsibility, right? Some of you, that is your identity. You know, this is your identity. Let me tell you something. Oh, thank you for that comment, Crystal. Let me tell you something, guys. Being a mom, God puts people in our lives that are there for a while. And it says in the Bible, and Dave had to re-explain this to me several times when I was very attached to my mom's situation as a single mom. She had 4 at home when Dave and I got married. And all I wanted to do was make sure that my mom and those kids were okay, because those were my siblings and my mom was trying to do this on her own. And then, you know, Dave and I would be having a great day. Then we would visit our dad's house with our kids or whatever. And we always wished that things were different for our moms. And it created, maybe for you, it could be the opposite situation. Maybe your dad, you know, your parents. It's Mother's Day weekend, but let's face it, this is the card line that Dave and I, we literally went and saved the website. We were going to do this and we never did, but this is the $1 million idea in our book, One More, that we never did. It was going to be called Bridging the Gap. Because the worst thing is when you have a dysfunctional family, we always laugh and say we put the funk in dysfunction. when you look it up as far as families. We were always going to create the greeting card for the people like us that didn't have perfect situations, right? I mean, you lose someone in ways that we've lost them. There's not a sympathy card that says the right thing. You go on Father's Day, or you're thinking about Mother's Day, or, you know, it's Christmas or whatever. And then there's these cards from the both of us to the both of you. There was always these times where Dave and I were like trying to fix the situation for our moms, or as parents trying to fix the situation for our kids. And this transformational learning, I'm reading a great book right now. I know you all know this is my favorite book, but it talks in here about transformational learning. When I had a child go through heartbreak, all they had to do was talk to Dave's mom. All they had to do was talk to Dave's mom or my mom, because there would be nothing worse than having a little 3-year-old boy asking where their daddy was and you not knowing, right? There would be nothing worse than being that mom that had these children and then having to explain why all of a sudden you're there by yourself. You're the single mom. Heartbreak is one of the worst feelings, that emotions that a person ever goes through. It's like a toothache. It just doesn't go away. My mom said one day, I think it might be easier when you have a spouse that dies, because at least you don't have to see and relive that every single day. And at first I thought that's a horrible thing to say. But you know what? I watched my mom, and over the years, forgiveness, this is such a big word, and you need to put this in your life at the top of the list. You can either get bitter or you're going to get better. And there are a lot of people that got bitter because of their mom, or maybe it's your mom because of something that went on. And the more bitter they get, you guys, that's where stress is. Stress is the silent killer. It causes heart attacks, it causes cancer, it causes mental illness. And the reality is, we have watched our moms just have so much grace. When my dad comes back to town with, now it's he's remarried and they're wonderful. It's great. I mean, they're happy. They live in South Dakota. Wonderful people, just not around here a lot. When they do come to town, my mom will offer, they can stay at the campground in one of her cabins. They could stay in her extra house, you know, one of her properties. There is no hate and animosity there. It's crazy. And when I look at that little statue of my grandma, here's one thing that she would always say. When you can't forgive someone, I want you to remember that there is no one sin that's worse than the other. And I would be like, wow. You know, growing up, I had 2 grandmas. One lived on Lincoln Street. One lived right around the corner on 2nd Street, literally 4 houses apart. 100% opposite spectrums of the universe. So my grandma and grandpa on my mom's side pretty much raised me. My mom and dad owned a trucking company until my dad left. And my grandmother actually passed away when I was 12. But during those years, lessons that I learned from a grandma, let me tell you this. They owned rental properties, and they owned the campground with my parents, which my mom has today. They owned a lot of businesses, but my grandpa worked a 9 to 5. He was an oil field pumper for city service, and actually for like 35 years. I might have that number wrong, but maybe 50 years. No, it had to be 35 years. But they also lived in an old home that was 12 bedrooms, and Walker Air Force Base wasn't too far from us. And in these 12 bedrooms upstairs, my grandma had rooms for rent. So a lot of the people from Walker Air Force Base who were here without their spouses would live upstairs. She would cook for them, do their laundry, clean for them, whatever. It was kind of like a boarding house, right? And then later she raised her 3 kids there. Well, went to church on Wednesday, Baptist. You know, she took me to church on Wednesday, took me to church on Sunday morning. We went back on Sunday night. Tuesday night, she was leading the missionary group. And my friends would come and knock on the door to play kick the can. This is back before video games and cell phones. And we lived right across the street from a park, and they would knock on the door. Can Barb come out and play kick the can? And my grandma would say, right after our Bible study, would you want to come in? Oh my gosh, you guys, as a young girl, it was so embarrassing. I would just be getting a boy to like me, and he would come to the door to see if I could play in the park. And my grandma would be like, would you like to come in? You know, and they would come in and we would read our little Bible study, and then we would go outside. This grandma was like a saint. I think her goal in life was to see how many people she could get to come in, sit down, and accept the Lord Jesus Christ come into their heart publicly, and then bring them to church and have them baptized. Like, this was this woman that literally was the foundation of all of my childhood. Kids learn a lot during age 2 to 6 or 7. Basically they're learning everything then, and then they just get older and keep reinforcing it. I never knew how much I would need those lessons until adversity came. And I think, my grandma passing away when I was 12, when you're a young girl and you lose someone that you love that much, 10, 11, 12, any of you that lose a grandma or a mom, that's a pretty devastating time. And I think for women, especially when it's the grandmother, it was the first time I ever saw my mom cry. First time I ever saw my dad cry. I didn't even know he had that softness in his heart. But this woman was such a pillar of strength. And why am I talking about this today? I think sometimes in this day and age, we all get so busy that we forget how important we really are to these little people. We forget how important we are as that grandma. Like, I'm dying today that my kids are 15, 16 hours away. Dave and I threatened to drive last night, but we have a Zoom this morning for our company, and our company just launched in Canada, Virgin Islands, all the Army, Post Office, all the APOs this week, and Puerto Rico. So it's been a crazy busy week, and part of me just wants to go get in the car and take off driving so I can be with those grandkids on Mother's Day. I mean, it's my day after all, right? I should get whatever I want, and Dave would do it. But then I think, my goodness, they've got great parents that are teaching them great lessons. But as a grandparent, you just want to be there to love them, to nurture them, to encourage them that they can do and be and have anything that they ever dreamt of, because I had that. And I want my kids and my grandkids to have that. And if you're not taking time out to really sow seeds into these kids, as a mom, get better. I read yesterday, and I sent this to Chance and Daisy because I thought it was the most amazing quote. I will drop it here in the comments later. But it said, when your kids come to you and you're doing important work, remember that there is nothing more important than them. Here's what it said. Children are not a distraction from your more important work. They are the most important work. So what do you do if you're a new mom and you're trying to juggle everything that you're doing and you're trying to be a good mom and you feel like you fall short, especially single moms? My gosh, I remember my mom would get on the truck at 5 a.m. and she kept trying to do the dairy distribution business even after my dad was gone, but there was 5 at home. And I can remember trying to get her little ones to daycare and school and everything, and one would get sick and they would call the factory. She was working at a fifth wheel factory, and someone had a fever, or someone forgot their book bag, or someone forgot their paper. And growing up, my mom was always there because my mom and dad owned their own businesses. But after my dad left, my mom wasn't able to be there. She was working like 4 jobs. And even at night, talk about strength. She was trying to figure out how to make money even while she slept. She volunteered. There's a government program where you can take care of elderly people and stay in their homes with them in case they wake up in the night or need something. And she would do that. And so once the kids went to sleep, she would, my sister was old enough to stay. She would go to an elderly lady's house and stay up all night taking care of this lady, or maybe take a nap on the couch and then get up and go to work again. The quote my daughter sent me today when we were talking about a good topic, Brooklyn said this is what she thought of. And I almost did this just as the whole topic, but I really wanted to give tribute to our moms. It said, be better than your best excuse. Because our mom's excuse could have been, we just couldn't do it. We were single moms, this, that, and the other. They could have turned to alcohol. They could have turned to drugs. They could have done whatever they needed to do during a rough time. But they turned to a faith and a strength that everything was going to be okay. And I was at Merity's Cafe this week picking up a to-go order. And Merity was in there, and I said, how does it feel to have your restaurant back open? And she said, oh my goodness. She said, it felt so good. And I said, did you take off for 5 weeks? She said, no, I remodeled the whole kitchen. And I was laughing, and I said, you remind me of my mother, because they're never going to look at it as a negative situation. They're going to find the good, and they're going to go break records, right? And she said, I really admire your mom and the children that she's raised. What a family. She said, I heard on the scanner, we live in a little town, in our little BMW convertible that I took out the other night, we literally hit something and blew a tire. So she said, I heard on the scanner, I just wanted to make sure you were okay. And I said, yeah, we were okay. And she said, well, I figured your brother Mark would be right out there fixing it because he never stops working and he owns a automobile precision collision where they, do everything from tires, directs to whatever. And when I left there, I thought, what an amazing feeling to have people say those things about my mom. I will be in our little grocery store and people will ask me, how is Cindy doing? She nearly died, stage 4 cancer. We didn't even think she would live a few more weeks. And it's been 2.5 years and she beat that. And there's other people that would say, oh my gosh, I give up. I just don't even want to fight. This woman never stops fighting. And I want to tell you why, because they project out there. It's only going to be this way for a little while. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get better. Brooklyn said in her text to me, I think the one thing I would say is being better than your biggest excuse. We all have excuses, don't we? What we need to do is try and find a way as a mom to be a better example. What if your children and grandchildren went and looked? Let's say you are no longer on this earth and they're looking back at your Facebook post. They're looking back at your Instagram page, your Snapchat, your TikTok, whatever. And they're saying like, what an amazing example my grandma was. What an amazing example my mom was. When it comes to forgiveness, I think about this, my grandma, the little statue up here on my bookshelf. She always said, when you can't forgive someone, imagine that Jesus is on the other side and he's there with open arms saying, come here. And the person that you can't forgive is the only thing between you and them. Because what we forget, he loves them just as much as he loves us. And you may say, no, he can't. There's no way, they're a bad person. I want you to think of your own children. And maybe things that they have done that you were like, wow, I can't believe they did that. But you still love them because they're your child. And the reality is, all of us have reasons for the things that we do or have done, good or bad, and every bit of it's forgiven, right? So there are a lot of moms that say, I just regret being such a horrible mom. I wished I would have been a better mom. I wished I have a better relationship with my children. And what I would say is, it's never, ever too late. Because sometimes the biggest adversities are what bring us back together as a family, stronger, closer, more transparent, more understanding. And the only way that we can really make an impact on other people is through our adversities, challenges, and mistakes that we make. So I don't really worry about making mistakes. I've made a whole bunch of mistakes. It's how I learned, and I just keep on getting better and better and better. Here's the other thing. How am I ever going to coach someone through a mistake or a challenge or a setback or a huge adversity if I've never experienced any adversity? Nobody wants to listen to someone that just arrived successful. You just inherited a bunch of money and have a sports car and a mansion and whatever, and you're just like, here I am, I'm successful. Who's going to read that book? You know what people want to read? They want to read something that they can relate to. They want to hear from someone that they can learn from. And in this book, if you guys get, this is a great Mother's Day gift, by the way, if you get it for your mom. It's called The 1 Minute Millionaire, and it's about a mom who loses her spouse. A drunk driver hits him. The husband dies. She's a single mom with nothing. His family is very, very wealthy, and they hate her, and she's going to lose her kids forever. And I think the reason it inspires me so much is because there's nothing I wouldn't do for my kids. Nothing. I mean, there would be no boundaries. I wouldn't even care. I would do anything for them because the love is that strong for them. But I watch her in this book going through a transformation from a broke, homeless mom that lost everything, including her children, sleeping on a couch, working at a Holiday Inn as a waitress, to a girl that has more success than anyone her mentor has ever seen in her life because of her number one reason why. And I look right now, all of you that are moms and all of you that are grandmas, really, if someone asked you, what's one thing that you have to look forward to? I bet your kids would come into that description. So I would love to know, in the comments, dreams and goals as a parent, as a grandma, as a new mom. Maybe you don't even have kids yet. What do you think of that gets you so excited about the future and that title? I can remember a mentor of mine in business when we first started out. There was a lot of chiropractors, a lot of attorneys, a lot of very wealthy people at this high rank that we were at because they had credibility. Dave and I had no credibility. And all of a sudden, just because of our work ethic, which is the number one thing I learned from my mother, we were the top producers in this company. no title, no education, no credibility, not a big following, just worked harder than everybody else. And if you work harder than everybody else, then you're probably going to become more successful than everybody else. Sorry, my daughter Callie's FaceTiming me right in the middle of my live. Sorry. So here's the thing that I would say to you. I lost my train of thought. What was I just saying? Oh my goodness. She called me. Now I'm worried something's wrong with her and I totally lost my train of thought. What did I just say, guys? I said, what are you looking forward to as a mom? So let's say that you want to plan a trip, or you have a vacation that you would like to take them on, or maybe you want to pay for grandkids' college education. Sometimes those things are the only way to get ourselves really motivated and excited about life, because if you are not excited about something and you're just kind of going through the motions, I think that's when you get depressed about an empty nest, being far away from your children, not seeing them every day. The only thing that gets me through not being with my kids today on Mother's Day is I have this dream board that Dave built me. I don't know if you guys saw my Facebook Live yesterday of my amazing Mother's Day gift. If not, go check it out. But I just have their pictures all over it. Where we're going to go, things we're going to do, things I want to, be able to experience with kids and grandkids. And you guys, let that be your number one reason why. Sometimes you can't motivate yourself to get healthy. You don't like to exercise. You don't want to eat healthy. Maybe you know that your health is bad and you just are like too lazy to do anything about it. But one day my kids came to me and said, Mom, I want you to get healthier because I don't ever want you to die, and I want you to be here when my kids are growing up, and I don't have kids yet. And I can remember thinking, wow, Dave and I need to kick it in gear, because I don't want to be not able to have quality of life when they're graduating college and wanting to go on a cruise or climb the Camelback Mountain or whatever it is, right? So sometimes I really believe our kids motivate us more than anyone else. And in this book that I'm reading, The 1 Minute Millionaire, I watched this mom have a transformation and become such an amazing, just a admirable mother to her children when she had beat herself up for so many things that she did before her husband passed away. So it's never too late to be better. And I just remembered my train of thought I lost. They all had business cards in that company that we were in, and they had big titles behind them. And I can remember one day I met this guy named Dale Maloney, and I said, what does that mean, DMN? It was kind of like his initials. It said Dale Maloney, DMN. He said, it doesn't mean nothing. DMN doesn't mean nothing. It just looks really good on my business card. But you know what? This was a guy that didn't have any children. Him and his wife didn't have any children, but it was his nieces and nephews that were his reason why. And still today, what a legacy. His nieces and nephews are running $1 million business that he built and left that as a legacy. I think to myself, what will it be like? I think of this more than I think about the present. What will it be like when I'm not here anymore and I was the mom and I was the grandma? Because I know the impact that my mom and grandma and Dave's mom have had on me and my children. Everything they've learned, strength, work ethic, forgiveness, faith, everything that they've learned, I think, how can that be even stronger because of me? So on my business card, when Dave and I were building, it said Barb Pitcock, M-O-M. And people would say, what is that? I said, I'm an M-O-M. It was the most important thing to me. It still is today. And if you have kids and you're struggling with like juggling it all and, you're stressed out, I can remember complaining that we would be at the ball fields 5 nights a week. And I still have our planners. Spring break wasn't really a spring break. We had state wrestling. Dave was the coach. Summer wasn't a summer break. Brooklyn was on a softball field. Callie was on a t-ball field. Chance was on a baseball field. And then it went all the way up. This month, we would have had a dance recital. We would have had a baseball state tournament. And we would have had state track, all with many of them in the same events, because Chance and Callie both did state track. And Brooklyn and Callie both did dance recital. And then there was competition. And we were just never home. Looking back, I don't know. I might not have let him be so busy. So I could have had him home to teach him how to cook and all of that. But you know what? We just had a quarantine for 50 days and we all learned how to cook, play games. Honestly, the greatest thing from March 16th until just about a week ago is that we were all stuck at home weren't worried about anything other than staying safe. We had to spend time together. We had to get creative. We had to cook together. We had to laugh together. And I know that some of you are like, I wished I would have been quarantined. You're missing your kids so bad right now and grandkids. But you know what? If you read the other book that I mentioned, The Soul Plan, you will never think a situation is bad ever again. There is no bad situation that ever happens in our lives. Took me a lot of years to be able to say that. No situation is a bad situation. It's only thinking that makes it so. Maxandra DesRosiers gave me that book, and she said, I want you to imagine when you and Dave were 23. Your moms were single moms. They were watching you have babies, get married, start all these businesses, and then they watched you fail miserably in your little hometown, a bankruptcy, losing everything. Dave getting arrested for a $7 check in your 20s. Your moms are like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? But God took that story and took it to the masses, and we have helped so many people never get a credit card, never get in debt, work from home, make tons of money, pay off all their debt, live all their dreams, pay cash for a house, pay cash for a car, take dream vacations, be full-time stay-home parents because of the adversity. Max said to me, what if that never happened? Where would you be today? I said, things would look a whole lot different, not just for me, but the lessons learned by my children and even grandchildren. Was it a bad thing at the time? Devastating, embarrassing, humiliating, not just for me, but for all of my family. How many of you as a mom have experienced something with your children, grandchildren, your spouse, your ex, whatever, that has been a failure, humiliating, embarrassing? Like you're like, oh my gosh, this is our name. It's everywhere. I think you should embrace that, because God is going to take every situation that you've ever had as a mom, a grandma, or as, the child growing up, and he is going to use that not to set you back, but to set you up for the biggest comebacks that you've ever had in your life. And if there's anything that I could say to every single person that watches this broadcast, whether your relationship with your mom is amazing like Dave and I have with ours, or whether it's not, pick up the phone and say, Happy Mother's Day. Try to be the one that is the bigger person, that is forgiving, that is all love all the time. No matter what has ever happened, just blow their mind. You be the bigger person, because you don't forgive for you anyway. It's not for them anyway. I'm saying it actually helps you, because here's the way it works. And I learned this from my grandma. When you won't forgive, and you're holding a grudge, and you're talking crap on other people, and you're gossiping, and you're saying, judging them for anything. I hear people do this all the time, and it makes the hair on my back stand up. They'll talk about even someone in politics. I don't care about it. I don't care if you think they're an evil person or not. I don't care, because here's what I know. When you're full of all love all the time, and that's what you're putting out, nothing but good flows to you. It's like a fountain, right? When you're having any negative emotion at all, hate, resentment, anger, judgmental, gossip, talking stuff, whatever it is, it's only repelling. So like blessings are coming to you like a magnet. Money's coming to you like a magnet. Great health is coming to you like a magnet. Opportunities coming to you like a magnet. To your kids, spiritual blessings, generational. I swear some of the things that have happened in my life are because of my grandma, because of all the seeds that she planted. I want to be that mom. I want to be that grandma. And I've watched our moms, and so I've learned through their example, and I think, man, I want my kids and grandkids to talk about me like they talk about them. Look at what she did. Look at what she accomplished. Look at this amazing, strong, powerful, bold, funny, healthy, enthusiastic, like giving, caring. What are all the things that you would love your children and grandchildren to say about you? And I do want to wish all of our moms out there a happy Mother's Day, but I want you to look in the mirror and say, regardless of anything else, what can I do to be a better mom? And the way that you can be a better mom is you get better, and then things will get better. You can't change any of the directions that your children are going to take or do or believe in, any of the failures that they're going to make. It's all part of their story. What if them having that challenge in their life? Chance quit K-State football and went through the worst depression ever. And today he owns a nonprofit for suicide awareness called SAP and inspires people to never give up. It's a temporary situation. Don't make a permanent decision. My oldest daughter, I swear we're going to write a book that is going to affect the masses, because I think some of the things she went through is the biggest challenges in the world today. And my youngest could definitely write a book, but I think she's over that whole situation and she's just so much stronger now. She doesn't even think about it. But they all had situations that they had to go through, and I had to watch them struggle to be the strong individuals that they are today. As a mom, what can you do? All you can do is pray. And you have to be that example that's positive about the situation, that's reinforcing that they're amazing, they're powerful, they're wonderful, they're gifted, they're created for greatness, they're forgiven, they're smart, they're witty, they're beautiful, they're confident. You're the one that's sowing all these seeds. Don't reinforce in your kids what their weaknesses are. Always find the good, because they're hearing these things in their subconscious mind, and no matter how low their self-esteem can get, they're going to remember that still strong voice that believed in them, that encouraged them. I would buy my kids books. Sometimes they wouldn't read them, but what if one day they picked it up and they read just a chapter of that book, and that was the chapter that changed their life? What if years down the road, I'm not here anymore, and that is sitting in their library, which build them a library. That's the biggest thing you can sow into your kids. I write in the front of every book. Maybe they're 50 years old. I'm not even here anymore. And they're reading this chapter saying, oh my gosh, my mom, she was always right, right? I just want to encourage all of you to know that you're never going to be perfect. And growing up, our life was a train wreck at home with all the kids and all of the stuff they were going. I always tried to balance it all out, but it was tough when Callie would get home from dance at 10:30 at night, and I'm trying to warm up supper, and one had to leave the next morning at 6. And, it was a struggle. It was a juggle, but the greatest gift that I had was being able to be a stay-home mom. And my passion and my purpose till the day that I die is going to be helping moms work from home, be a boss, make more money than their family needs, travel the world, see the world, take your kids to see the volcanoes so they don't have to just learn about them in a textbook, go on the Hawaii cruise and watch the whales so it's not just something they see on Discovery Channel. Take those little kids to the museums, take the grandkids to Atlanta so they can learn about all the science and sea life right there firsthand. You guys, money is only paper. And I've spent a lot of my life stressing out about it. It's literally like magic. If you've never watched The Secret, if you're lacking and you're scared and you're stressed and you're a single mom, I look at our moms and I'll tell you this, God will never let you go without. You will always have enough. You're always going to have enough. Nobody died last month because they didn't have enough money to go get some food and survive. And those times when Dave and I wasn't a mom yet, thank God, but in line at the food pantry in Cody, Wyoming, asking my mom to sell my horse so that we could buy groceries. The sacrifices that we made and the things that we went through, all it did was make me stronger so that I could be able to share and relate. And how are you going to train somebody that comes to you that says, I'm broken, I'm bankrupt, I'm depressed, I want to give up on life, and I don't even have money for baby formula? I mean, it's easy for me to say, I got you. Just hang on. You're going to have so many great years ahead. This is temporary. It's a temporary situation. But the most important thing is that your kids see you fall and get back up and try again. And you're going to fall and you're going to get back up and you're going to try again. And I can remember wondering, do we tell our kids the truth or do we hide this from them? In every adversity that would happen, do we share this with our family or do we not let them know? And I want to tell you something. Everything my kids have ever been through, from seeing us survive during a suicide situation to losing a company, going from $1 million a year to nothing, turning a car back in, anything they've ever seen us go through, I'm telling you, when it comes time for them to learn that lesson, here's what they're going to say. I got this. My mom went through it and she survived. Don't beat yourself up, you guys. I don't care if it's money, if it's addiction, if it's depression, if it's illness, if it's being a single parent, whatever it is, You are their biggest hero. They're watching you, and more than you think, they're learning from you. Their transformation comes from seeing and doing and experiencing. It's nothing they're going to learn in a textbook or college. All of that's really overrated, in my opinion. So I hope that I have inspired you guys. Dave and I have the most amazing moms. I'm going to post their picture, and you can all wish them a happy Mother's Day. But we live in this little podunk town with no opportunity and a 4-hour drive to the airport and a lot of travel that's not convenient for one reason. There's nothing more important in our lives than family and our moms. So I want to wish them a happy Mother's Day and wish all of you a happy Mother's Day. And I hope that you make it a record-breaking month. Things are going to be good. It's going to be your best year ever. Get your dream board. Put your kids up there. You'll think, how can I be the most amazing mom and grandma? And you guys, it's not about money. I don't think. It's about experiences. No one's ever going to talk about all your great accomplishments, but they're going to laugh about the memories that you make. So get it on your calendar. Go make some memories as moms and grandmas, and I hope that you guys all have an incredible weekend. Have a great day, everyone.